As a critic, sometimes I worry that I feel a little out of my depth. There's a few reasons why I think that way, but sometimes it's when talking about films like this. Films that are so acclaimed, so big, and so grandly scaled that I often wonder if I can really bring anything new to the table with what I have to say. It's a film that you just seem intimidated to talk about, and this is one of those films. But you know what? I'm going to do my best to talk about this one because this is a film that deserves its flowers, and I know I want to give it the credit it deserves. So, with that said, let's dive straight right in. We have one more DreamWorks film to talk about this year, and this is without a doubt the biggest one. The one that had the most potential, the one that was the most ambitious, and the one that I was excited for the most. The Wild Robot. And boy, this is a big one. I said this before, but alongside Inside Out 2, this was the most anticipated animated film of the year for me. And it was the one I was excited to review the most. Of course, there were plenty of reasons why, from the exceptionally amazing trailers, the fact that it was based on a pretty great book written by Peter Brown, and the biggest reason of all, that being it was the latest film from director Chris Sanders. And to say this guy is a legend in animation would be an understatement. He is truly one of the best working today, or to ever work in general. This is a guy that really has worked on some of the greatest animated films ever made. He got his start at Walt Disney Animation Studios and helped craft the stories of some of their greatest films. He has credits on films during their renaissance, like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, and Mulan, which are all amazing films. Naturally, he seemed like he would be perfect to direct, and in 2002, he and Dean DeBlois proved it with Lilo and Stitch. While the 2000s were a rough decade for Disney Animation, this film is one of their biggest highlights, and quite simply my favorite of that decade from them, with its heartwarming and funny story, gorgeous animation with beautiful watercolor backgrounds, and quirky and likable characters. It's such a sweet and special film, and one that I adore. After that, Sanders left Disney in 2007 after butting heads with John Lasseter over his next project, which is another reason why I dislike Lasseter, and ended up moving to DreamWorks that same year. He was then tasked to direct The Croods, which was released in 2013, and that film was pretty good, even if it wasn't his strongest work, though it's the film he made between Lilo and Croods at DreamWorks that really stands out. And that was a little film from 2010 called How to Train Your Dragon, which is another film I can call one of the best animated films ever made, and a massive triumph for DreamWorks. This is such an incredible film with a bold and creative story, gorgeous animation that was visually supervised by cinematographer legend Roger Deakins, and has some great characters with the bond between Hiccup and Toothless standing out, as well as an incredible score by John Powell. It's a towering achievement, and it helped spawn what I still think is one of the greatest animated trilogies ever made, and quite possibly some of DreamWorks' finest films. So, yeah, when I found out he was back directing another film at DreamWorks, my hype was through the roof. And I grew even more excited knowing the premise, which one of my friends described as Iron Giant meets Watership Down, and also just the incredible trailers and fantastic buzz it was getting. I was really hyped to see what kind of magic Sanders and his team at DreamWorks could accomplish with this. And now having seen it, wow. I just wow. It's not often that a film leaves me feeling this speechless, but yeah. If you heard good things about The Wild Robot, let me reassure you. Yes, it is indeed that good. This is a film that really showcases DreamWorks and Chris Sanders at their very best, and the result is quite honestly one of the most powerful and gorgeous animated films I have ever seen. It's the kind of film that genuinely made me feel like I was a kid again. I had some high expectations for this, but wow. This really did totally surpass them. In the distant future, a tech corporation called Universal Dynamics has developed a line of utilitarian robots called the ROSM, or ROS for short. However, one of these ROS units, played by Lupita Nyong'o, washes up on an inhabited island that's only populated by animals. The ROS unit enters a safe mode to understand the animals, whom all take aggression towards her, and while attempting to contact the company to leave the island, ends up discovering a goose egg from a nest she accidentally crushed. The gosling soon hatches from the egg and imprints onto Roz, and she gives herself the task to raise the gosling and make it eat, swim, and fly before the fall, and before she contacts the company to leave the island. Alongside a fox named Fink, played by Pedro Pascal, Roz raises the gosling, whom she names Bright Bill, played by Kit Connor, and helps it survive while also trying to fit in on the island, which includes other animals like a possum mother named Pinktail, played by Catherine O'Hara, a grumpy beaver named Paddler, played by Matt Berry, and a hawk named Thunderbolt, played by Ving Rhames. Like I said, going into this film, I had high expectations for it, but I was really unprepared for just how incredible this film was, and quite honestly, I'm not entirely sure if I have the right words to talk about it. But as I established, I'm going to do my best talking about it, and I'll just start off by talking about the story, which really is one of the best DreamWorks has ever crafted. Much like the other films Chris Sanders has made, the story is quite simple, but really thrives thanks to its massive heart and grand scope. The idea of a shipwrecked robot learning to bond with animals is such a genius concept for animation, and DreamWorks really brings so much to the table here alongside Sanders. He really does own his craft here excellently, as he revisits many of the themes he explored in Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. Mainly the main character trying to get a grasp of something unfamiliar. But rather than have it be a girl bonding with a reckless alien or a boy understanding a wooing dragon, it's rather a robot understanding the world around her. In a sense, you can almost say this is a film that's about us as people and how we're trying to live. Trying to understand the world, trying to understand the others around us, trying to raise children, just trying to survive. And shifting the focus onto an unfamiliar robot is genius, especially with her learning humanity by bonding with the gosling. The bond between Roz and Brightbill is the heart of the film, and it's a very steady beating one that genuinely moved me as we see both trying to grow and understand themselves and their flaws while getting a sense of the dangerous world around them. And it's told in a sense that feels really original and special. And it's one that also has its heavy emotions earned. There are some powerful moments here that genuinely move me that rival some of the best sequences I have ever seen from DreamWorks. The scenes here rival their work in Prince of Egypt, the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, and the Kung Fu Panda films. This is a film that isn't afraid to get dark, and it doesn't retreat from it nor dumb things down to kids, and I have to greatly respect a film that does something like that. It also has some funny moments too. Sanders injects his quirky sense of humor into this film that he also added in Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon, and it really got me to laugh, especially with some of the moments that were a little bit morbid and dark.
You're lucky you just have one. As a mother of 7. 6 babies.
But above all else, it's excellently told. This is a film that has no slow or dull moments, and it really pulls you in with each sequence from its slower, quieter moments, including a great scene where Roz discovers her past, as well as some intense action, which includes Brightbill trying to survive a dangerous factory, or the thrilling climax, which has some gorgeous animation. And yeah, I guess we should talk about the animation and visuals, because they are top-tier quality. This is one of the most visually stunning films DreamWorks has ever made. Every frame in this film is a stunning work of art, and there is a lot of great influences that were pulled from into this one film. Sanders wanted to make the film look like concept art and a film that's a Monet painting in a Miyazaki forest rather than something photorealistic, and he nails it. This is a dazzling film, and the forest is filled with so much light, color, and beauty that you can only get in an animated film. The two films he claims to pull the most inspiration from visually were Bambi and My Neighbor Totoro, and I can absolutely see that. But it doesn't feel like it's copying the work of Tyrus Wong or Hayao Miyazaki, but rather taking great inspiration from it and making something new and exciting. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, and I could have stared at this all day. And yeah, this is the kind of film that really is a showcase of what animation can do. I'm glad Sanders and DreamWorks went with this stylized look compared to something photorealistic, because these visuals greatly enhance the depth and beauty of the story. I mean, could you have seen something like this told with photorealistic animation? Oh yeah, they've tried that. And they are still trying that. And it doesn't work, so yeah, point proven. But yeah, this animation is incredible. And I can also say the same for the characters. Roz might be one of the greatest protagonists DreamWorks has created, and a large part of that goes to Lupita Nyong'o. She is incredible in this film, and I think it really shows the character's growth more than anything else. When she washes up on the island, her voice is very disconnected and robotic, but after she meets Bright Bill, her voice becomes more humanized and warm, and it's tremendous growth. Not only that, her writing is very skilled as she tries to understand the purpose on why she's on the island, what she's trying to do, and how she can survive. Her bond with Fink is also fun, as he's also an outsider on the island, being a pesky fox trying to fit in, and he does provide some fun laughs. Though the other big character I really found myself connecting with was Bright Bill. Much like both Lilo and Hiccup, he's a character that also is seen as an outsider by the other animals on the island, being a runt and also being raised by a robot, and just kind of being an awkward character in general, and it made me feel drastically for him. I always connect with outsider kids wanting to fit in, mainly because I was one, and yeah, I really found a lot of myself in this character. And the other characters in the film are fun too, like Pinktail, Paddler, and even an evil robot named Vantra, played by Stephanie Hsu. Honestly, I could go on and on talking about this film, but I think I made my point. That being that the wild robot is phenomenal. This is an absolutely breathtaking animated film with an emotionally riveting story about survival and parenting, gorgeous animation that is vibrant and lovely, and deeply drawn and relatable characters perfectly performed by the cast. This is both Chris Sanders and DreamWorks at their absolute top form, and it's a film you absolutely should watch. It's quite frankly an animated film that showcases how powerful this medium is, and it's also a showcase for how good a studio DreamWorks can be. It really did make me feel like I was a kid again. Honestly, I don't think I need to think too hard about this at all. The Wild Robot absolutely gets a 10. This is a masterclass of a film and truly earns the praise it's getting. You know, I'm not one to be immediately advocating for sequels, but given there are sequels to the book, I really am hoping we get to see more of this world and these characters, because I could really see this taking off. And also, I hope to see DreamWorks make even more animated films like this, because this is a showcase on what they do best. In all, it's a film that is really wild and brave, and absolutely breathtaking. Go see it, guys. Go see it.